Hey, and welcome back to the Aligned Partner. Today we're talking about an important topic, and that is 3 strikes and you're out rule. This ties in with our boundaries. This ties in with respecting ourselves. This ties in with raising our standards and getting more of what we want. Human relationships are complex. Individual humans are multi-layered and complex, and so we all want to ultimately be fulfilled in our relationships. And a lot of us do have compassion. A lot of us have wounds in our attachment, which makes us stay longer in relationships that perhaps we should do. And so we need to find a middle ground here between when do we stay and when do we go. And so when you're very clear on what your standards are in relationship, in other words, how you would like to be treated, because you've done the work to develop yourself and feel more of yourself, honor yourself by knowing what you value, what are your principles, what do you want out of relationship, you actually start to get a much better idea of what is going on for yourself. And so you engage from a place here of certainty in your dynamic where you are clear and you have enough in your reserve bank account, emotional bank account, to be able to say no and be able to move away from a dynamic even after investing for a period of time. And so the 3 strikes and you're out rule is a person can perhaps break through one of your non-negotiable standards, and it can be excused the first time. Perhaps they even have an excuse. Perhaps they even are actually genuinely unable to follow through with that. And so it can be forgiven, right? And so we move on. And of course, with accountability and behavior change, we can see more green flags and be positive that this person can make that adjustment and they realize that this was out of line and not within my realm of standards. And so it's understood. But what may happen also then is, again, if that same type of behavior gets repeated once again, it's then the 2nd strike and you're out, right? Because now that second time round is highlighting, this could be a possible repeated behavior. And so we're getting closer to that place of, I need to actually let this go. But the second time is in between, and it means also now it can be forgiven. I have compassion, and I can bring up the complaint or argument from a great place of just, this isn't for me, this is not the way I'd like to be in relationship. No finger pointing, no blaming, just a great truthful share in and around what works for you and what doesn't work for you, right? Because you have that grounded knowledge of self, of where my yes is and where my no is, and what you know that you're worth in the relationship. If the behavior continues in and around that specific behavior, and I think the key with the 3 strikes and you're out rule is to really hone into a specific type of behavior. You can't just say 3 strikes and you're out if there's been bad behavior in different sort of components of one's life, different environments or different experiences. It would need to be in one example. And that could look like perhaps maybe the person replies after 24 hours. And you've mentioned that you like more responsiveness and, unless there's an emergency, you don't see why there shouldn't be a reason why that person shouldn't contact you within 24 hours. But now it's happened a second time. And now it escalates to a third time. And this could be even over a couple of weeks. But the person again doesn't respond. And so you now have to escalate the boundary, because that now is 3 strikes and you're out. Which means you're out. Which means I've mentioned this 3 times now that this is a problem for me. And this is important to me. It makes me feel close to you, connected. It makes me feel respected. And I can understand that you take your time with messages, but I have respect for that, and I understand you need a bit more space, but what I want in relationship is a responsive partner. And so this disqualifies you, disqualifies us from moving forward. And so the 3 strikes and you're out rule is there to keep you safe, and it's a good one. And I think in the early stages of dating, could you imagine bringing this up with your potential new partner and say, hey, what do you think of this rule? Do you think we should implement it? And that keeps each other of you on your toes, keeps you aware that, you know what, can't take this for granted. When they do have a disagreement or they're upset about something, I need to show up and really take note and be accountable. And of course, these rules have to be within reason. You need to check yourself and make sure this is not your own attachment issue, where you're being too strict and too punishing in and around someone's behavior because you actually are trying to avoid getting closer to them. So you need to be able to be aware of what secure functioning is. And that's why we have this channel. So check out some of the other videos. Thanks for subscribing today and sharing and liking the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.